It's that time of the season when the IMSA Development Series head north of the border to Canada. But this is no holiday for the teams and drivers. Little time to take in the sights and sounds of Ontario's state capital, Toronto. Their minds firmly on Bowmanville, Ontario and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Designed in the late 1950s, Mosport, as it then was, held its first race in the early 1960s, and the first big race here was a sports car race, won by a Lotus 19 driven by Sir Stirling Moss. At Sir Stirling's suggestion, the Turn 5 hairpin was changed to a complex of corners rather than just a single one, and now it bears his name, and that's one of our action areas along with the super quick turn number 8. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindorf. It's a lovely day here in Bowmanville, Ontario. Great weekend of racing here in the IMSA Development Series, and we're about to get underway with the second race of the weekend for the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Two different types of cars racing at the same time. The red number panels and the roofs designate the LMP3 cars, big 5-litre V8 engine. MPC's blue number panel, no roof, 2-litre Mazda 4-cylinder turbo engine. So the Mazda MX-5 RF safety car ready to lead the cars out. Here's what happened in race 1 yesterday. Action before the green flag with contact at the back of the grid. Paul Fix in the bright red 44, Riley Arve getting tagged, and JC Perez in the black number 71 going no further. Whilst the safety car was out, just a tag to the wall with Chris Wright, who already had damage in the number 7 MPC car. At the drop of the green, Kenton Cook from the front of the field disappearing into the distance, and Joel Janko having problems on the exit of the Moss Corner complex in his prototype challenge powered by Mazda car. Proving it's just as difficult getting into that complex, Gary Gibson had issues in the 13. No problems for Kenton Cook, who wins over Colin Thompson and Naj Hussain. And the championship challenge continues for Kyle Masson, who took the MPC category. The cars heading out for their formation lap for the second race here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The championship in LMP3 has a very different look to when we arrived here. Colin Thompson now leading by 2 over Andres Gutierrez, who is on holiday, but he's in Europe, and he might regret missing these couple of rounds by the end of the year. Kyle Masson leads Tazio Ortiz by a handy 54 points in the MPC category. Great crowd on hand, and they know they're motor racing here in Canada. Green flag is next from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Field beginning to form up behind the MX-5 RF safety car. They're on the Andretti straight at the moment, just coming to that rise before what in race conditions will be the insanely quick entry to turn number 8. On the front row of the grid, it's a couple of LMP3 cars, the big 5-litre V8s, Kenton Cook on pole position, and alongside him, championship leader now, Colin Thompson. Kyle Masson is the best of the open-top cars with the 2-litre Mazda power. No split start here. You qualify, and that time sets your position for the start of the race. 45 minutes on the clock in the IMSA Broadcast Centre. Jeremy Shaw, and to bring it to the green flag, Shea Adam.
Kenton Cook with the inside line through the penultimate turn, and now onto the front straight. He gets a good jump away from Colin Thompson, who is caught napping just a little bit. Now Colin Thompson has a championship lead, but needs to be careful. He needs to finish in order to maintain that. Kenton Cook leads them through turn 1, and it, unlike yesterday, is a clean start today. Everybody manages to get away. Naj Hussain slots into what is 4th position very early on, and going through turn 2, there was a collision. There was side-to-side contact and 2 cars spinning. Have to wait to see who fell victim there. I believe that's Chris Wright in the number 7, and the 38 of Stephen Doss. Stephen had a terrible race yesterday. Right rear issue yesterday, left rear today. Jeremy Shaw, welcome. That was a bit of chaos to get things kicked off, but they made it quite a bit further. Michael Watt was involved there with Chris Wright going into turn 2, Michael's first weekend in these cars. Chris Wright, who had an engine issue earlier in the weekend, that is broken suspension for the number 7.
Yeah, hi Shay. We've had a couple of suspension failures this weekend. Whether that was cause or effect is hard to say, because a couple other guys have had suspension issues. Number 72 car yesterday in qualifying had a right rear suspension failure going over the top of the hill there into turn 2, and he spun off and hit the fence. And Gary Gibson in number 13 car at Team Perfect pedal entry, he also had 2 mechanical problems this weekend. First, he crashed at turn 5 in practice, I think it was, or might have been qualifying, I can't remember now. And that was caused by a suspension failure. Let's have a look at this replay.
Full course caution is out, should mention, as Michael Watt got a bit light coming over the hump underneath the bridge in turn 2, seemed to collect Chris Wright at the bottom of the hill, and it looked like Chris Wright just kept going backwards, left his foot off the brakes, and slid into Stephen Doss in the number 38.
There on the back of
Stephen
Doss' car.
Stephen Doss tried to go as far to driver's right as he could, which now we do have that ability with the improvements around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The entire outside of turn 2 is completely paved. That was not the case a few years ago.
Yeah.
But for Stephen Doss, that is weekend done, and a weekend that he will be eager to forget.
Safety car onto pit lane, Shay.
And Kenton Cook, not caught napping, decides to get things going a little bit early. He does not pass the safety car out on track, though, which is good, not even close. Colin Thompson about 5 car lengths back as they took the green flag, only half a second on the timing screen, though. Yesterday in the race, we saw Kenton extend his lead, and then as the end was approaching, Jeremy, Colin just sort of started reeling him in little by little, but he didn't have enough left in the car to get up to Kenton ultimately. This battle, though, is the one that could be very interesting. Kyle Masson, we were just talking about the fact that he had to fight his way back through traffic to get back up to 3rd. It was a new experience for that young man, because all of a sudden he was having to pass, at least new for this year, he was having to pass to try and get position. Well, right now he's 3rd overall. He's on the tail of Colin Thompson through the 1st sector. The 2nd sector is where the MPC car falls back to the LMP3, and it's in the 3rd sector that Kyle Masson can catch back up again. So Colin Thompson is actually going to have to watch his mirrors.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to make sure that he maintains his focus on Kenton Cook. The LMP3 cars around here significantly faster, particularly on the straights. They've got about a 12, 15 mile an hour straight line speed advantage. I mean, that Chevy V8 pumps out a lot of horsepower, but the LMP3 car is a good bit heavier than the MPC, formerly known as Prototype Lights cars. The Elan chassis, they're a lot lighter. They're very nimble, however, so they are very, very quick through the sweeping corners. They have a lot of downforce too, so they're very quick through turns 8, 9, and 10 at the end of the lap. And so they do have the potential there to pick up ground over the LMP3 cars. But it's a good battle developing at the front of the field still. And Michael Klemecki is hanging on to the back of Kyle Masson too. In car number 31, he's the best of the Masters contenders, running for Eurosport Racing. Kyle Masson with Performance Tech Motorsports. And Michael Klemecki from Windsor, Ontario, is keeping the pressure on Kyle Masson. He certainly is not able to relax at this stage.
And the Masters class is just for drivers of a certain vintage. If they are over a certain age, they're classified with an M next to their name. So there's no talent discrepancy there necessarily. It is when you reach a certain number. But Michael Klemecki always runs strong at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Jeremy, as he drops 2 wheels coming into turn 10. Loses a little bit of time on Kyle Masson. He's now about a second back. So he lost quite a bit that last lap, but Kyle Masson on it in the areas where the LMP3 cars aren't as strong, sectors 1 and 3, the fastest overall go to Kyle Masson in that number 18, the MPC car.
Yeah, so yeah, the lightness of the car is a big benefit through those sweeping corners. Turn 1, turn 2, 8, 9, and 10. But the grunt, oops, there's a side-by-side battle.
That was Joel Janko getting passed by Gary Gibson, and now Joel is under attack from Dr. Masson on the right-hand side, the number 11. Dr. Masson all of a sudden under attack from Tazio Otis.
Yeah, Tazio would be expected to be ahead of these guys. He's a much younger competitor. Some of the other guys there have been around the sport a long time. And number 25, number 13 car, that's Janko and Robert Masson. They've rubbing bodywork there halfway around that lap, and they've exchanged positions a couple of times. A very forceful move there by Gary, it's Gary Gibson in car number 13.
Yeah, coming out of turn 2, going into turn 3, he stuck his nose down the inside driver's right of Joel Janko, and Joel turned into the corner not expecting there to be another car there because there's not really enough room, but Gary Gibson used the chrome horn and made his way through as Tazio Otis passes Paul Fix in the number 44. Perfect example of the different abilities of the different cars through varying parts of the track. Tazio Otis much faster than Fix through that final complex of corners, but Fix will have an opportunity to gain the position back if he's close enough when they get to the straight. Yeah, Dr. Masson saw an opportunity to get around Joel Janko after the move had been made on Gary Gibson, but Joel was quite a bit more alert, watching his mirrors far more closely, and he gave a bit of a bump to Dr. Masson. The bodywork on the left front of Masson's car popped up in the same way that it did on Gary Gibson's car. Interesting.
Yeah, Joel Janko, though, he's a great story. He's 68 years of age, but you certainly wouldn't know it from either talking to him or his enthusiasm for the sport. Number 25 car. There's two teammates on number 25, Joel Janko and who was he dancing with? Robert Masson, Dr. Masson in the car number 11. But they are just about giving each other enough racing room there. It's pretty tight,
just about.
But there's a great battle going on in the Masters class coming into today's race. With his third place finish yesterday in the Masters category, Robert Masson took the lead in the Masters class points. He's got 106 points to his name after 7 events. Tied for second are Gary Gibson, despite that brake failure yesterday, and Stuart Retty, who's driving car number 21. He's in he's a little bit further back down the field at the moment, but still running competitive laps. They are tied together on 104 points, and John Brownson, who's the veteran in the series, this will be John Brownson's 116th start in this championship, dating back to 2007 in car number 34, and he is just another 4 points behind as well. So the top 4 contenders separated by just 6 points coming into this race at the halfway point in the 14-round season.
That means that at the green flag of today's race in MPC, we have a father and son leading both championships respectively. Kyle Masson in the number 18 has a firm hold on the MPC championship, and his father Robert with the Masters. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, isn't it? Certainly Robert, it's his first season of racing in anything. His son raced last year in Skip Barber and in this championship, which for predecessor, the IMSA Prototype Lights Championship, powered by Mazda as it was known then. But Robert has taken it seriously this season. He's stepped up to the plate. He saw how much fun his son was having. He said, hey, I want to share that. And that's exactly what he's doing. And picking up experience and picking up speed and going very well. And involved in this great battle with John Brownson, Joel Janko, Gary Gibson, and Robert Masson there. And Tazio Otis not too far behind as well. They are battling for 6th position overall and 3rd place in MPC, but at the front of the field still nothing to choose really between Kenton Cook and Colin Thompson. It is Thompson who has the fastest lap to his credit at a 1 minute 14.420, fractionally quicker than Kenton Cook, but still only maybe a second or a second and a half between those two contenders, with 11 laps now in the books.
Just over 25 minutes still to race in the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Great battle for 4th position in the NPC category for the open-top cars. But right at the front of the field, Kenton Cook is driving away, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, super consistent is Kenton Cook at the front of the field, certainly. And Colin Thompson, particularly after an accident a couple of days ago, he is probably still trying to extract the maximum potential from that car, but he has the speed. We've seen that. He has fractionally the faster lap at this stage in the game, and there's still 25 minutes remaining.
The top speed of the cars, we get a trap speed coming up on our timing and scoring. The last time through, Colin was 4 miles an hour faster than our leader, Kenton Cook, but the lap time did not reflect that necessarily. It was a 14.4 versus a 14.5, so it was fractionally quicker for Colin Thompson, but he's got a gap of 1.2 seconds, and with 24 minutes remaining in this race just about, he's gonna have to push a little bit harder than that. Taking a 10th off each lap will make a difference, but catching Kenton is one thing, passing him is another.
Yeah, it's not easy to make overtaking moves here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You've got to get a really good run, perhaps coming up the hill into turn 8, but it's very, very difficult to overtake, notoriously difficult here. But that's why qualifying is important, and starting on the pole position here for Kenton Cook could just turn out to be the critical turning point in this race. But what a battle we've got going on here. We're watching these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars pretty much dicing over third position in the NPC category. 4 of them are Masters contenders, and then bringing up the tail of that group is Tazio Otis in car number 72. That is the yellow and black car. Joel Janko's made a bit of a break there over Gary Gibson, who's got his hands very full of Robert Masson in that black and orange car. That is car number 11.
And John Brownson as well. He's checked out in front of Joel Janko, pulling away from this battle. But Gary Gibson is now been passed by Dr. Masson. So Dr. Masson makes it stick, looks forward, sees a blue car ahead of him, and target acquired. Go get him, Dr. Masson. Yeah,
chasing after his teammate then, both from the Performance Tech Motorsports team. Gary Gibson's car is kind of self-run. He and Steve Levinson, who's been around the sport a long time, was a long-time Skip Barber mechanic. He looks after that number 13 car, the Team Perfect pedal entry of Gary Gibson. And Team Perfect pedal, by the way, is a simulator pedal assembly. I guess I'm not a sim racer, but he's one of the leading producers of pedal kits for simulator technology.
I hate to say it, Jeremy, but we've been green since that first lap incident.
Yeah, might be a record for this season to go this long without an interruption. So let's keep it this way. It's nice, clean, perfect conditions this morning. Good lap times already. The fastest lap in yesterday's race, therefore setting the class lap record here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the LMP3 cars. The first time those cars have ever been here. Yesterday's fastest lap was a 1 minute 15.187. Already this morning, during this race, Colin Thompson has gone significantly faster at a 1:14.420.
Our MPC leader driving around by himself, the number 18 of Kyle Masson, 14 seconds back to Colin Thompson in the number 14 Norma, but 21 seconds ahead of second place in his own class, Michael Klimecki. So Kyle Masson is enjoying a leisurely drive. Oh no, wait, he's not. His Sector 3 time the last time through was the best of anyone, so he is still pushing like mad. Kyle Masson, who already has a nice wristwatch from this year as well, with the win at the 24 Hours of Daytona in the PC category, and a win at the 12 Hours of Sebring in that same class.
That's right. In addition to his challenge here for the NPC Championship in the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda, he's also contending the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship races with the PC car of Performance Tech Motorsports, the same team with which he drives in this event. And as you say, it's been a fabulous, successful season for that team in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship, unbeaten this season. Kyle Masson for the long distance races. We've had 3 of them so far, Daytona, Sebring and Watkins Glen, joining the regular drivers Patricio Award and James French, who will be in action this afternoon.
and was still in championship contention in the PC, not for the overall, but he has 108 points after the Watkins Glen round. He's only 12 points behind Buddy Rice, who's not here this weekend, so neither of them competing this weekend. Given the streak that Performance Tech has been on, though, to have your two main drivers leading the championship and your third driver in fourth,
well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's just a factor of the fact that there's only one other team, effectively, which is Don Yount, that's contesting the full championship this season. So that's a reflection upon that more than anything else. But having said that, you're right. You know, Kyle is gained a lot of experience this season. He's using it to good effect, and yeah, he could well come away with a couple of championships this season. This battle, though, is really heating up in the NPC cars. They're lapping the number 77 car of Howard Jacobs, who's another first-year driver this season. But John Brownson finds a way past. He's now got his mirrors full of Joel Janko in that blue, black, and white car number 25, and closing in on both of those two is Robert Masson. Gary Gibson has fallen some way behind. Now he's fallen behind Tazio Ortiz, who is himself about 4 seconds behind this other trio. So not quite sure what happened to Gary Gibson a lap or two ago.
Dr. Masson is driving quite differently this weekend than we've seen before. All of a sudden, he's got this figured out. It's like something has clicked. And he tries to make a move down the inside of Joel Janko in turns 3, doesn't quite get it done, but he is letting it be known that that number 11 car will be by the 25. It's just a matter of when and where.
Yeah, you know, very little experience coming into this season, Robert. He's picking up experience with every outing, of course. He has a full-time job. He's a very accomplished spinal surgeon. That's his real life. This is just for fun on the weekends. But he does take it seriously, and he's. You know, I spoke to him over the weekend, and he's loving it, number one, and number two, he's learning every time he drives the car, getting faster and faster, learning what it takes to run towards the front.
This is actually his vacation time.
Yep.
He did an outpatient surgery the day before flying up here as an orthopedic surgeon, and then decided to use vacation time this year to come racing effectively. Yep. Decided that he wasn't going to let his son have all the fun, as you mentioned earlier, but when you have a real world job, yep, you know, your 2 weeks a year get eaten up pretty quickly when you're racing on the weekends.
Yeah, I think to a degree he can make his own schedule, but still, he's very much enjoying this. The battle for the lead still, there's only a couple of seconds between the two of them. A slight mistake perhaps on the last lap by Colin Thompson cost him a little bit of ground to Kenton Cook, but it is Colin who has reset the fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago in that Norma M30 car number 14.
The leaders just now coming into turn 8 as this battle goes through 2, so not quite half a lap between them, but with 15 minutes remaining, they might get caught up by the leaders. It wouldn't be shocking for that to happen. Kenton Cook crosses the start-finish line to complete 20 laps now, as there's a battle brewing further afield as well. The 4 of Matthew Dickin under pressure from the 2 of Michael Watt and Stuart Reddy. So that would be the battle for 12th. They are coming under pressure from Kenton Cook, who slides quite a bit wide going through turn 3, but keeps all 4 wheels on the black stuff. Comes out from underneath the Chevrolet bridge and up into turn 5. Now, I've seen a lot of these drivers adjusting their lines, Jeremy Shaw, because there was a rather large pothole the other day on the track walk right at the braking zone for the LMP3 cars as they come into turn 5. A lot of people have been staying very far to driver's left, which ultimately does them no harm, gives them a better run through Moss Corner. But interesting to see that even so, with 13.5 minutes remaining in the race, just a little bit more, they're still obeying that and still respecting that space.
Yes, and it's been a good, clean race other than that incident at the first corner. And good to see these two battling away there a little bit farther down the order, but not much to choose between them. And Stuart Retty in car number 21, the MPC car, is kind of stuck behind those two LMP3 cars. I'm sure he feels he's faster. Certainly he's significantly faster in several points on the racetrack, but he doesn't have the straight line speed to contend with the P3 cars. He's got it alongside him coming out of turn 3, however. Then once again, the power of that Chevrolet engine in the number 2 car of Michael Watt, former Ferrari Challenge racer, making his debut in the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda this weekend. And that grunt of that Chevy engine frustrates Stuart Reddy once more.
Kenton Cook 2.6 seconds ahead of Colin Thompson. That gap has been maintained through most of the race. Kyle Masson a further 17 seconds back, and now only a 13-second gap over Michael Klemecki. So Michael Klemecki's been able to close in about...
You misread it before. It is still extending that gap between second and third. The gap, I think you said 20 seconds before or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That was a gap from the first place back to Michael Klemecki. So that gap, I think when you mentioned it, it was about 7 seconds between the two of them. Between Masson and Klemecki, it's now gone up to 13. So Michael Klemecki, I mean, he's running a pretty lonely race there in the 4th position overall. Nigel Sain's only a couple or 3 seconds behind him in number 3 car. As I say, that he closes in a little bit.
As they go through sector 2, he closes in, and as they go through sectors 3 and then 1, it'll extend out again.
Indeed.
John Brownson, personal best sector 1 time, so he is still trying to pull away from this battle as Kenton Cook has to lock up to deal with lap traffic. Michael Watt, coming through 5B, does not see the race leader and turns across the nose. Kenton got full stop on, though, and manages to avoid contact. That could have been disaster.
Yeah, Kenton there wisely got on the brakes. He wasn't close enough to make a clean move down the inside, but realised it fairly late. And because of that, he didn't get a good run off the exit of Moss Corner, so he wasn't able to make a run down on the main straight. But now he finally makes that move at turn 10 and goes through on the inside.
I don't know if the 2 car was just not seeing the blue flags or not acknowledging them, but made it very difficult for the race leader to get by. Now, I understand not wanting to go down a lap, but when you're not contending for the win anyway, that doesn't strike me as the brightest move.
Well, no, in Michael Watt's defense, if there is, he's brand new to these cars. This is a lot of car. He's driven in the Ferrari Challenge before, but these cars have a lot more horsepower. They have a lot more grip, in particular, through the corners. So he's probably out there just trying to make sure he doesn't hit anything at this stage. So it's having to watch the mirrors as well is sometimes kind of information overload. Oops, there's a spin for...
was that Dr. Masson?
I think it was Robert Masson, yeah.
And the number 11.
Looked like he got past Joel Janko on that previous lap, but now he's had a spin.
Yeah, so now he's fallen back to behind Matthew Dickin for 11th place. Now he's trying to battle there as Robert Masson... Oh, nope, Michael Watt has a spin in between 5A and B, taps the side of Stuart Reddy. Stuart managed to continue and actually got around the number 2. That was the opportunity he'd been waiting for, but I think you were right there, Jeremy. Michael Watt just trying to hold on at this point.
And that spin for Robert Masson is costly in terms of the Masters points in this championship, because now he's got to work his way up the field again. He lost a lot of ground with that spin, and now has to work his way back up again through the field, and that's going to be difficult. So he'll most likely now lose the lead in the Masters points as we leave Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with less than 10 minutes to go in this race.
Your leaderboard looks as follows. Kenton Cook in the number 8 leads overall from Colin Thompson in the number 14. MPC leader is in 3rd in the number 18. That's Kyle Masson. MPC Masters leader is 4th, Michael Klemecki. He's in the number 31. And then in 5th position, we find the LMP3 Masters leader, Naj Hussain, in the number 3. Then that battle continues. John Brownson, Joel Janko, and up next, Gary Gibson, still a bit back off of Brownson and Janko. And the 2 of them have stretched just a little bit, breathing space between them, I think it's fair to say.
I think that spin for Robert Masson caused Joel Janko to get on the anchors as well in avoidance. So that means that now there's 4 or 5 seconds in between Brownson, who's got a nice bit of breathing room now to run in the 3rd position overall in NPC and 2nd in Masters. No match this day for Michael Klemecki, but both they're teammates, by the way, at Eurosport Racing. But it's certainly been a good run for the series veteran John Brownson to be on the podium again, a 3 times champion in the Masters class, and that, if he can stay where he is now and finish in 2nd place in this race, that will be good for his championship aspiration for a 4th championship potentially in the Masters class. It'll move him into the lead if he can stay where he is with that spin for Robert Masson.
Traffic ultimately turned out to be a good thing for Kenton Cook. His gap 4 seconds over Colin Thompson as they come around to complete their 25th lap around the just under 2.5 miles of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So Colin must have had a bit more trouble with the traffic than Kenton did. Don't know how that's possible given the moment we saw for Kenton, where he probably saw his life flash before his eyes briefly there.
Kenton Cook leads comfortably for the 2nd race of the weekend at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Oh, was that a little wiggle there as he came out of Moss Corniche?
Kenton was just fighting the steering as he came out of turn 6 there, was able to see one of those beautiful shots of hand movements. There was a jerking back and forth left to right. 21 as Stuart Reddy comes into the pit lane. That is a gash down the side of that 21 car where he received contact from the 2 of Michael Watt. Looks like, well, Stuart Reddy racing with the Scottish Lion on the side. It looks like someone from Braveheart took one of the swords and just cut through the bodywork in between the 2 left-hand wheels.
Yeah, the team, he used to race under the name of
Lion
Rampant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rampant Racing.
Good memory. John doesn't know what I'm talking about with Braveheart references. It's a movie he's yet to see. Kenton Cook will be told on the radio 5.5 minutes to go. You've got a 5-second gap, almost 6 seconds. Bring it home. And for a racing driver, it's difficult to switch out of the go as fast as you can mentality. When you're behind the wheel of a race car, you're there to race.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kenton's he's still turning consistent laps. He's lapping in the 1 minute 14s. He doesn't have the fastest lap of the race by about 1/10 of a second on a fall into Colin Thompson, but he has much greater consistency. Pulled away 1.5 seconds on that last lap over Colin Thompson, who I would suggest has just been told, just bring that car home. You're in 2nd place. You're not going to be able to find a way past. And as we see a spin there that's Michael Watt.
Coming out of turn 5, rolls back. Front wheels are still on the pavement, on the curbing. Back wheels are on the grass as he's stopped in front of the Can-Am banner. Drivers are going to have to be careful coming through because normally the line takes you over those curbs before you go into turn 6. Michael Watt still has yet to get moving. There we go. Finds life in the engine and pulls straight across the racing line. Yeah,
but he would have seen, he would have been able to look right out of the cockpit to see there was no one coming into which he would pull into their path.
So he was staring ahead at Kyle Masson, making a pass on the number 4 of Matthew Dickin. Somebody spins right in front of our booth. Who's that, Jeremy?
I don't know. I can't see.
Can't see the car from our vantage point. But Michael Watt has resumed around the track. White MP3 car. That's Michael Klemecki. That is our MPC Masters leader. That means John Brownson now has an opportunity to get back and maybe contend for the win in category.
He was half a minute behind Brownson. Let's see what happened. He just
Two
strayed,
wheels on the grass.
strayed the left-hand wheels onto the grass as he's just dabbing the brakes going into the right-hander at turn 10. That car loops around on him very, very quickly and parked itself against the tyre barrier. No, I think he got away without any significant damage to that number 31 car. And the other good news is he had about a half a minute advantage over John Brownson. That would have been reduced significantly, but I believe he did just get out ahead before number 34 car came through.
Our timing screen is showing a difference in position. So John Brownson in the 34 now leads the Masters class as Klemecki has damage to his car. He is not yet up to speed. There's nothing visible on the cars, maybe dirty tires at this point because he was significantly off into the grass. Joel Janko now in second. We're showing Klemecki in third still for the Masters class, but I believe I saw Tazio Otis go by. Have to keep an eye on that. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in this one. Kenton Cook comes around the final turn and comes onto the front straight using the curbs and a little bit more, but not the grass. No white flag yet, so there will be at least one more after this one. Colin Thompson back 8 seconds now to Kenton Cook after that last lap, 8.4. Kyle Masson continues to lead a very lonely race, back in third, but MPC leader. He'll be okay with the fact that he's been by himself. John Brownson, Joel Janko, Gary Gibson, Tazio Otis, Robert Masson. Those are your second through sixth position as Michael Klemecki enters the pit lane.
And Robert Masson is closing significantly on Tazio Otis. Last time around he was more than he was more than 2 seconds faster, but he's still 8 seconds behind him. And I think we will see the white flag this time around for our race leader Kenton Cook. So I think Robert Masson is going to run out of time, having made that error earlier on in the race. But there's still been a very good pace shown by Robert Masson in this motor race.
Michael Watt is going to have a chance at redemption because Kenton Cook is going to catch him up again before the checkered flag comes out. Was the white flag displayed there, Jeremy?
I would admit it should have been, yes.
It should have been, yes. So this is the last lap of this race. Kenton will catch up to the car ahead of him, just judging on where they are on circuit. So hopefully Michael Watt sees the blue flags this time and doesn't give any problem to Kenton Cook. Colin Thompson almost 10 seconds back now. It would take something happening to Kenton in order for Colin to take this win.
It would have done all the way through, really. I think Colin's just settling for second place, but it was a great lap again by Kenton Cook last time around at 1:14.7. That's only within 3/10 of his fastest lap of the race, so he's not letting up at all, is Kenton. He's out here to challenge himself. He realizes in this race at least there's no one else that can really challenge him, even though Colin Thompson set the fastest lap. So he's just pushing hard, learning how these cars handle on a long stint, being pushed hard. So it's been an excellent performance once again by Kenton Cook.
Kenton has 2 corners remaining. He just has to make it through 9 and 10. He's actually lifted a bit so he doesn't have to deal with Michael Watt before he sees the checkered flag. Kenton Cook rounds turn 10 to claim his 3rd win of the season, 3 wins in 6 races. That's not a bad percentage rate for the number 8 of Kenton Cook, the Californian. Colin Thompson brings it home second in the number 14, doing exactly what he needs to in order to keep his championship aspirations alive. And it will be Kyle Masson in the number 18 who comes home 3rd overall as he is catching up to his dad on track to see the checkered flag. Congratulations to Kyle Masson. Again, another win on the season. That's all but 1 that have gone the way of that young man in the number 18. Our MP3 Masters winner, Naj Hussain in the number 3. And our MPC Masters winner, in quite a surprise at the end, John Brownson in the number 34 brings it home for another win for the guy who is the most prolific driver in this championship.
Indeed, it's 116th start overall for John Brownson. That is his 27th Masters win and the first since Road Atlanta in 2015.
Kenton Cook comes down the pit lane with the door open, acknowledging the applause from his team and from the IMSA officials. Good weekend for him as he heads down towards Victory Circle, which is just behind the pit lane here in Canada. He wins from Colin Thompson in second. Kyle Masson is the third place finisher and wins the 4-cylinder class for open top cars with the Mazda engine. But the man of the hour is Kenton Cook, 2 from 2, and maybe putting a championship challenge together after this weekend.
Oh man, I mean, it obviously went really good, and I was really happy how it ended. Yesterday we made a couple little tweaks from on the car to make it a little bit better, and P1 Motorsports obviously did an awesome job making a couple little adjustments, and ended up with a pretty sizable victory, and I'm very thankful. And Colin kept me honest yesterday, and he's going to be keeping me honest for the rest of the season. I can't wait to battle the championship out with him, and can't wait for Lime Rock, Three Rivers, another street course, which would be cool. I went to Houston and MX5 Cup a couple years ago, did really well there, so I'm really looking forward to a street course coming up. So can't thank Continental Tire enough, and everyone involved, Justice Brothers, Donate Life, and everyone that supports me at home. Hi Mom, hi Dad, my fiance at home, Danny, and I could keep talking all day long, but yeah, thank you very much to everyone.
I think it's fair to say that Kenton Cook has had a good Canadian weekend. Second in the championship now, 20 points behind Colin Thompson, and tied on points with Andres Gutierrez, who, remember, missed the Canadian trip because of a family holiday. He did ask if he could come and race, but Mum said no. Mum knows best, as we all know. In NPC, another win for Kyle Masson.
So my race, it was actually a really fun one. I was able to get out front and just push and test myself and run the same lap time every lap. It was really good to focus on my consistency. We put together a really, really good car for this weekend, and it was awesome to make the adjustments and see what worked and didn't work. In the race, I was able to figure out a few tricks through turn 2. It was faster to actually lift through the corner to get a little bit more front grip than it was to go flat and scrub the speed off of the tires. It was better to focus on turn 8. I wasn't rolling as much speed through turn 8. I was focusing more on turn 9, and I was compromising 8. And so I was figuring out tips and tricks here or there to really optimize the lap. And it was a really great race. The car was perfect. Performance Tech did a great job fixing everything after yesterday's race and making sure we were fine and polished to have a flawless race today. I have to have a big shout out to them because the car was perfect all weekend.
The car was perfect, but frankly, so was the driver. Kyle Masson will leave Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with a very impressive 63-point advantage over second-place Tazio Ortiz. Chris Wright, John Brownson, Gary Gibson, all tied for third place in the NPC Championship standings, 77 points back from our runaway leader. Next up, it's another natural terrain road circuit. We're off to Lakeville, Connecticut, and the 1.5-mile bull ring that is Lime Rock Park. Hope you can join us then. On behalf of our hard-working production team, all of our camera operators, and of course, my IMSA Radio colleagues, Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. There's more action to come through the 2017 season from the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda.